Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 99, Pereira versus Hernandez. First things first, make sure you smash that like button. Give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast coming off a okay week, pretty successful week. We lost one of our locks with Al Hassan. The fight got canceled, unfortunately, but Daniel Rodriguez squeaked one by. I thought he won. I know it went to a split, but fuck it, we bet him and we got money there. None of the dogs that we placed, like none of the official dogs hit, but some of the the Pat Sabatini plays and the ones where it was just straight dog or pass did come through. And some of the totals were good to go. I mean, even the plus money on the under in this Pat Sabatini fight, there was a lot of doubling up there. So over and all, it was a profitable week. And then of course my boy Raw Dog. Yeah, it was Pat and Raw Dog. And anytime Raw Dog wins a fight, I'm a happy man. So at the end of I don't know why they keep making him plus 200 in every single one of his fights. This dude is making me a fortune. So I could probably quit my job soon. If he fought more and he was plus 200, I wouldn't need a job because it's too easy out here. But people are hating on this fight card. I love this fight card. I think it's super fun. UFC Vegas 99. Only problem is my two favorite middleweights are Michel Pereira and Fluffy Hernandez, and they're fighting each other. So this one hurts. Not really sure what to do with it. So I'll probably just have to stay away from that fight and let's make money on the rest of it. So let's go ahead and jump in with the very first fight of the night. Again, I'm not saying these are great fights and these are great fighters. I mean, because you're starting off the night with Robles to Spain at minus 455, going up against Austin Lane at plus 350. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is plus 250. Under 1.5 at minus 360. Again, these guys are not good fighters by any means, but they are fun to watch. Let's just go ahead and start with the main reason the under is at 1.5. It's this guy, Robles de Spain. Let everyone down in his last fight against Waldo Cortez Acosta, getting decision there. Spain is huge. He has like the biggest reach in the UFC right now. He has great striking. He's an Olympic, or I forgot if he took bronze or gold in Taekwondo. So he's an Olympic level striker. One of the most physically imposing guy in the entirety of UFC, maybe ever. Um, Great power. Most of his wins. I think his combined win time, like all five of his wins, are like 5 minutes. Like there's a lot of 10-second fights going on. Like he hits you once and you go out. The dude has great striking. He has a ton of power. And that's it. He's gonna have a 4-inch reach advantage, which is super nice. But he's 36, so you don't like that number. It's heavyweight, so it's okay. But his grappling, we learned, was the worst we've ever seen. It's bad. He has no takedown defense whatsoever, no wrestling. He has no jujitsu whatsoever. Has no idea how to get up. His cardio not good. He completely gassed out. Yeah, it was pretty bad to watch. And Waldo Cortez Acosta, the reason we were on to Spain is because Acosta isn't a wrestler. He can't wrestle to save his life. But he took the Spain down all 3 rounds. And once he gets down once, he can't get up. He just physically can't get up. So, yeah, he's a great striker. If you give him another striker, he's most likely going to get the job done. What they did here with Austin Lane is pretty interesting. He is mainly a striker, but he does get intimidated quickly. And if he doesn't like what's on the other side, he will go out there and try to wrestle. He himself is 36 years old. He carries a ton of power himself. If he hits you, you are liable to go out. I don't think he's ever won a fight that went out of the first round. I think all of his wins are also first round finishes. Let's see, win round one. Okay, he has one round two finish, and then all the rest are round one. So yeah. So that's why. Oh no. No, he beat Juan Adams in round four, one of these fights. But still, the dude has how many fights? He's fought 17 times, and he has one win outside of round two. So it's finisher, nothing for this guy. Again, he knows what's going on the ground, no jujitsu whatsoever, but he does have some pretty vicious ground and pound when he gets you down to the ground. Has knockout power on the feet. Only problem is he might have the worst chin at heavyweight. If you tap this guy, he just goes out. His cardio off also pretty bad here, and all his wins are early, just like Despain. So realistically, you're looking at Despain by knockout if this thing is on the feet longer than 10 seconds. And if it does hit the ground, Lane is going to have a huge advantage there. You figure Despain has done nothing but drill wrestling after how he looked his last fight. Is that enough? I don't know. Austin Lane's not a prolific wrestler. He's a football player. He used to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars, like a tight end. So he's not like some sort of college wrestler. He's not a wrestler at all. He football tackles you in the ground and pound, pretty vicious. But he's what he's going to have to do. He's not going to want to stand with this pain. No one in this weight class. We saw Josh Parisian go for a takedown, for fuck's sake. Like, no one's going to stand with this pain. So you're looking at, can Lane get the takedown, or does Despain knock him out before he gets a chance? I think it's the latter. I think Despain's going to bounce back here. They both suck. What you probably should do is just take the under, because Lane can definitely finish this early via ground and pound. Despain can most likely will catch Lane early, but the under 1.5 is at minus 360. Like, that's bad. That's it's damn near unbettable. So you're gonna have to throw it in a parlay. That's all you can do. So the pick is gonna be Despain. The bet would be the under 1.5, but there's zero value whatsoever. If you want to throw it in a parlay, you can, but you might just stay away at this point. You're priced out of betting this fight. You can bet on this one, though. We have Alice Ardoline at plus 125 going up against Melissa Martinez at minus 150. Over 2.5 is minus 450. Under 2.5 at plus 290. Let's start with Ardoline. Ardoline is 32 years old, and she's the famous TikToker. She has some pretty lewd and like provocative TikToks, not really of her, just of things that can be perceived of like a sexual nature, and then she just makes this stupid face, and that's it. That's all she does. She makes this she like patent this look, and she watches something that is not provocative at all, and she makes it seem that way by making this stupid face. That's all she does. It has millions and millions of followers. It makes absolutely no sense. In regards to why she's in the UFC, it's her TikTok fame. It's not necessarily her fighting. I mean, she's 9-6. She doesn't have a crazy record. She did fight Wei Li Zhang for some strange reason at one point. It did not end well, nor should it have. She got choked out in round 2, but at least she made it to round 2. Her striking is not good, but she's really, really aggressive in there. Her wrestling's not great, but she will continually shoot takedowns. Her jiu-jitsu is not world class, but she has some submissions on her record. She knows what's going on down there. She's not the worst fighter in the world, if I'm going to be honest with you. Her biggest problem is that she's extremely hittable when she's on the feet. She's really aggressive, but she's very hittable, and her cardio is bad. That seems to be her biggest detriment. She took her last fight on short notice. Went out there. She knows she has a gas tank problem, but she took the fight on short notice to get the contract. Went out there, won round 1 pretty easily with her wrestling, and then ultimately gassed out and lost to Shannon Bannon, who is one of the worst girls in the weight class, so that's not a good look. It was a split decision. She did take it on short notice. She showed promise. She showed she can wrestle in the UFC. She showed she could strike a little bit, but she also showed that cardio will rear its ugly head. She's taking this fight on short notice. It's not as short notice. It's not on a week's notice like before, but it is not a full fight camp again. So someone that has bad cardio, why she doesn't have full fight camps, I don't really understand. On the other side, we have Melissa Martinez. We talked about Shannon Bannon being one of the worst girls in the weight class. Here's her competition. First of all, her name is fucking Super Melly. That's the dumbest fucking name I've ever heard. Super Melly? Like, I don't know. There's something wrong with her. She's 27 years old. Her striking's all right. She's very in and out. Pitter patter, doesn't hit necessarily too hard. Tries to be real clean, does not like getting hit whatsoever. When you do hit her, she does get cracked and fall. The level of competition is not good at all. And she has one fight in the UFC. It's against Elise Reed. Elise Reed has 0 knockouts in the UFC, but she dropped her twice. Elise Reed is you beat Elise Reed by taking her down to the ground because she has no ground game whatsoever. Elise Reed took Super Melly down multiple times in the fight. In fact, I think it's her only takedown in the UFC, and she did it like 3 times with Super Melly. Super Melly has a 0% takedown defense. Granted, it was only one fight, but it was fucking karate. Elise Reed took you down 3 times. It's not a good look. Um, Very bad optically when she does get hit. Again, she likes to go, she likes to move in and out. She's pretty clean striking, but again, it's zero power and very bad optics, bad reactions if you hit her. Yeah, man. And we haven't seen her in 2 years. I don't know where she's been. I don't know what she's been doing. They tried to sacrifice her to Lucinda. Lucinda would have killed her. It's a good thing that she got hurt. Alice is a lot easier fight than Lucinda. Melissa backs up a lot with her in and out movement. Um, I don't know, man. She has good cardio. I'll give her that. But not a ton of volume. 0% takedown defense, suspect chin, nothing to like here. So Alice is very aggressive. Alice is gonna get hit. Let's be honest, she was getting pieced up by Shanna Bannon, who also has kind of like a heavy karate style. So she fought this type of style and lost a split decision. She's just running it back and doing the exact same thing. Only difference is I think Melissa doesn't hit as hard as Shanna Bannon and isn't as good on the ground. So if Alice does get this down to the ground, that's where it needs to be. I just saw Alice lose a split this way, and now she's plus money again against a worse version of what she just fought. So that's the only way I'm going. The pick is going to be Alice. The bet's going to be Alice. They both suck. I don't want to do it, but it's sheer dog or pass. Next fight of the night. We just talked about her. Elise Reed as a favorite, minus 160, going up against Jessica Panay at plus 140. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 270. Under 2.5 at plus 200. Let's just dive right into Elise Reed since we were just talking about her. She's 31 years old. She's a karate style striker. 7-4, not the shiniest record. But let me tell you about Elise Reed. I like Elise Reed for absolutely no reason. She is not a good fighter. She's very low volume and kind of hittable for being someone that wants to strike the whole time. 42% takedown defense. I talked about her getting taken down to lose. Yeah, 42% takedown defense is not a good number at all. So she's hittable on the feet. She's easy to take down. She has no jujitsu. She's been sub multiple times. There was a Lupita Gomez in her last fight, looked like Habib out there against her. Luma took her down multiple times and then choked her out. Like, that's not a good look. Luma is a 105-pound Muay Thai striker, and she took her down and subbed her. So again, yeah, Elise, zero ground game, zero wrestling. Her striking's okay, but she really just spams a right hand. That's all she does. I don't know. There's certain people in life just have a cool swag to them. I fuck with Elisa Reed for no reason. Dude, she's gangster. She's for absolutely no reason. I think she would be cool to hang out with. But she's a terrible, terrible, terrible fighter. Never bet Elise Reed. But then you look at the line and you see she's a favorite. How the fuck is the girl that just spams a right hand a favorite? Because she's fighting Jessica Panay. They found one of the only girls that Elise Reed could probably beat in the weight class. Jessica Panay is old as dirt. She is 41 years old. Jessica Bonet has a 4-inch reach advantage, which is nice for her. She has a significant jiu-jitsu advantage in this matchup, which is super nice for her. She's fought a great level of competition. Problem is she hasn't beat any of them. She had that one weird controversial split decision win over Lupi in Lupi's debut. That was really weird. It wouldn't happen again. She has good cardio. So she has good jiu-jitsu and she has good cardio. That's good. Her striking, non-existent. She's been in the UFC for like 15 years and never figured out how to strike. Very, very hittable. Very, very low volume. Elise Reed has low volume. Panay is even lower. She does love to pressure forward, and she's pretty durable. Elise is going to spam that right hand. She is going to connect, but I don't think it's going to put out Panay. Panay can take a punch. The thing is, in order to beat Elise Reed, you have to take her down. Okay, you can submit her, you can take her down and hold her there. You take Elise Reed down, you're gonna win the fight. Easy. We all know what Jessica Panay is gonna want to do. She's gonna want to take her down. But can she? Elise Reed, 42% takedown defense. Everyone and their mother should be able to take down Elise Reed. Jessica Panay, Since 2014, this is a 10-year sample size. Since 2014, in those 10 years, do you know how many takedowns Jessica Panay has? Two. Two takedowns in 10 years. The girl's great on the ground, cannot wrestle to save her fucking life. She makes Chase Hooper look like Khabib. She makes Yair Rodriguez look like a great wrestler. Like this girl's wrestling is ass. Like it's some of the worst wrestling I've ever seen in my life. Can she just snake to the back somehow on Elise Reed? Yeah, that's what she did to Loopy. Somehow she wound up on her back. She slapped on a body triangle and just sat there against the cage the entire time, standing up, just like roped around. I've seen Mackenzie Dern do that, where like they just duck a punch and then like slick over to your back and just hold on to you. It can happen, but two takedowns in 10 years is bad. That's really bad. Meanwhile, Elise Reed is going to be spamming that right hand over and over and over again. I do like the over, but the over is pretty. What's the over? Minus 270. That's probably the way I'd go. Elise Reed should win this fight. She's going to be my pick. Vegas is on her. She's the better striker, and Jessica Panay can't take down like my 2-year-old daughter. Um, but at the same breath, all it takes is one weird slip up, and Jessica Panay on top of Elise is bad news. But maybe she can stay safe. So let's stay safe with our bet. The pick is going to be Elise Reed. The bet's going to be the over 2.5. Next fight of the night, we have yet another women's MMA fight. Is this back to back to back? It is three straight. We have Jocelyn Edwards at minus 245 going up against Tamiris Vidal at plus 200. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 400. Under 2.5 at plus 270. Let's start with Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards is someone I didn't believe in. I thought she kind of sucked and was short for the UFC. But she is making improvements every single fight. She's getting better and better and better. So I'll give the devil her due. She's still not my favorite fighter to watch. But she is getting better. She's working hard, and you can tell. She's 29 years old. She's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Her bread and butter is her striking. She is a good striker, but she has good fight IQ. If you're a really bad wrestler, she will mix in takedowns. If you're a good wrestler, she will do everything she can to stay on her feet or work on her jujitsu. And so we saw her fight Eileen Perez, who's a very good wrestler, and ultimately worked on a sweep game. Like she's like, I'm not going to be able to stop the takedowns, but you're kind of sloppy on top, and just continually swept her. So she has a really high fight IQ. That's something hard to fight in fighters. So I do like her for that. Again, we'll mix in a takedown. Her jiu-jitsu is not great, but it's improving every fight. Her cardio is okay. It's not good. It's not bad. She'll slow down a little bit, but not enough to where you're concerned. Level of competition's okay. People like Eileen Perez, people like uh, not really Nora. Lucy Podolova just got cut. Carol Hosa is okay. Jesse Rose Clark. I mean, maybe her level of competition isn't that good. She's fought like two or three decent girls and lost, but it is what it is. She has pretty decent volume on the feet when she is up there where she predominantly wants to be. All in all, she's just a girl that's continually improving every time out and is UFC caliber. On the other side, I don't know if I can say the same for Tamaris Vidal. She sucks. She's 26 years old. Her striking is also her bread and butter. So that's a striker versus striker here. She does hit harder than Jocelyn Edwards, I would say. And Jocelyn has been dropped a few times. So I'm not saying she's chinny, but um, you know, we've seen her dropped. Thing with Vidal though is although she's an okay striker with decent power, she has 28% takedown defense. That is a god awful number. And it's again, we talk about how Edwards is good fight IQ. Believe me, she knows that number is at 28%. Vidal, although she's a striker, is very hittable on the feet. She gets hit more than she dishes out. I've also seen her hurt multiple times. I saw her quit. She also fought Eileen Perez. It shows a win over Eileen because she faked an injury. It was pretty egregious on the regional scene. She got hit with an illegal knee, got back up. Her corner told her, "No, you're hurt. Stay down," because she was getting her ass whooped. And then they stopped the fight. So great actress, bad fighter. Jiu-jitsu is not great. So jiu-jitsu, I think it's a wash. Wrestling, I'll give Edwards the edge. Striking, I'll give Edwards the edge. Cardio, it's a wash. So why would you not bet Edwards? Because trusting her at minus 245 feels absolutely disgusting. Not something you should never do with women's MMA. But I'm fucking hard headed and I'm going to do it anyway. So the pick is going to be Jocelyn Edwards. The bet is going to be Jocelyn Edwards because you can't touch Vidal. But if you want to take a crazy dog shot, I got you. Brad Katona plus 210 going up against Sean Matsumoto at minus 260. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 360. Under 2.5 at plus 250. Let's start with Brad Katona. He's good, man. He's been on the Ultimate Fighter twice. This is his second run in the UFC. 14-3 is a solid record. He's fought good level of competition. He's 32 years old. And he's just a very, very high level generalist. There is not one area where he's bad. There's not one area where he's great. He is proficient everywhere. But I give him a touch over proficient. He's genuinely good everywhere. Thing lacking for Brad is his power. Zero power whatsoever. If he had some pop in his shots, he'd get some knockouts and he'd look a little more impressive in there. But it's death taxes and Brad Katona by decision. I mean, Jesse Butler is one of the worst fighters in the weight class. Decision. Garrett Armfield in a loss where it was pretty 50-50. I actually had money on Garrett and thought Brad won. It is what it is. I was happy to win that bet, weirdly enough. And even loses decision. Cody Gibson win decision. Whoever, even in the regional scene, decision, split decision. Got a guillotine choke in round 3. Good for you, Brad, on the regional scene. And then his initial run in the UFC, he won his first fight, decision. Then he ran into Merab Dvalishvili, the current champion, and he lost, but by decision. Then he lost Hunter Azure in a very close fight by decision. Dude has gone to decision. Let's just say from his initial time in the Ultimate Fighter. So the initial time in the UFC was in 2018. So that would be 6 years. In the last 6 years, he's had one fight not go to decision. He is a decisionator, man, in definition. But he's another one, just like Jocelyn Edwards, that has really good fight IQ. Like that's the best part of his game. He's elite when it comes to his IQ. Jesse Butler can't wrestle to save his life, so he took him down a million times. Garrett Armfield can't wrestle to save his life. He took him down a million times. Cody Gibson is like a high school wrestling coach and can wrestle and grapple a little bit. But he knows he gasses out. So Brad did a whole bunch of body work and stood the entire time until Cody got tired and he took over. So we see him doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah, he's a very, very good fighter, man. Very, very smart. And you can't teach how smart this guy is. Um, he also is rocking a weird 53% takedown defense. That part scares me. But he has had one, two, three on paper, four, five, six. He's had 7 fights that would attribute to that. And only 2 guys have taken him down, and one of them is named Merab Dvalishvili. So, does he really have 52% takedown defense, or did he just get Merab? Like, I think that number is very skewed. But at the end of the day, again, he is just a very high level generalist. On the other side, we have the future in Gene Matsumoto. I think he's good. I think he's very good. He's 15-0 for a reason. He's only 25 years old, so he's just now entering his prime. He's going to have 4-inch reach advantage here, which is big. He has good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. He's very good everywhere. He kind of reminds me of like a Charles Oliveira because he's Brazilian and you're picking your poison. Do you want to, well, not Charles. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to strike with him because he's a good striker? Or do you want to go to the ground with him because he is an active guard and it's dangerous down there? Pick your poison. What some people have been doing, like in his last fight, is wrestle him. They will take him down and just try to stay safe. And you know what? We just saw Dan Argueta last week not look the greatest, but Dan Argueta won 2 rounds off this guy by wrestling. He took him down 9 times. 56% takedown defense is what this kid's wrestling is showing. But I will say on the regional scene, he got taken down as well. But offensively, he can wrestle. He took Dan Argueta down twice, and Dan's a very good wrestler. He takes people down a lot on the regional scene if he has to. So he can offensively wrestle, but he can't stuff a takedown. That's very interesting. He has good cardio. He's 25. He just seems to never get tired. Has really good volume when he's on the feet. Again, averaging 4.5 significant strikes, and Dan took him down 9 times. So imagine that. You get taken down almost 10 times in 2 minutes, and you're still averaging 4.5 significant strikes. You're throwing a ton when you are on the feet. He's a good fighter. I think at 25 years old, in the next like 3 or 4 years, like this dude is going to be a top 10 guy. I believe in this guy. I think he's very very good. I think the only way he loses is very reminiscent of last week with Roy Valentira. You catch them young. They get a vet lesson by someone that can match them. And is smart enough, has a high enough IQ to know what to do when things get close. Roy Valet was 2-2, and he knew don't give up your back anymore. He slaps on the body triangle. That's his best thing. You can escape from this guy. Just don't give up your back. And that was the game plan. He did not give up his back. And he ultimately dominated round 5. Matsumoto here, he's a great fighter. He's good everywhere. And he's destined to be a ranked fighter. He's going to be a top 10 guy. But he's 25 years old. And Brad Cantona is the ultimate generalist. He does it all. He does it all good enough to where, as long as he comes in with a great game plan, he gets these wins. And I think at plus 210, there's no other way to bet this. The pick is going to be Brad Cantona. The bet, or the pick will be Gene. I think he's the better fighter if you're just doing straight picks. But I think Brad at plus 210 is the play. And honestly, death taxes and Brad by decision, he ain't going to finish anybody. So Brad by decision is the way I'm going to play this fight. I will have a bet on Brad by decision. Next fight of the night, we have a pretty good one here. I'm surprised at the placement here and as a prelim. We have Mateus Nicolau at plus 160 going up against Asu Almabayev at minus 190. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 320. Under 2.5 at plus 230. I might take a poke there, mainly because of Mateus Nicolau. He's okay. He's one of the worst fighters to watch. He's 31 years old. He has really good jiu-jitsu. He has pretty decent striking. He has okay wrestling. He does have a hard left. He has decent power in his hands. He does have good cardio. The thing with watching Nicolau is that he's the worst fighter to watch. He backs up and he just circles in circles in circles and throws no volume. He just circles and circles, and then he'll spam like a left hand occasionally. That's all he does. He used to fight a lot harder, and then he has one issue. He's chinny. He's very chinny. In fact, he has 4 losses and 4. All 4 of his losses are by KO. He knows it. He knows he can't take a punch, and that's why he circles. He doesn't want to get hit, and he doesn't engage at all. He knows he has a pretty hard left hook, and he will just circle and circle and circle, lull you to sleep until you get sick of chasing him around, and then he swings on you. That's what he does. And if you want to try to just get annoyed and grapple with him. Again, he is a BJJ black belt. He's very good on the ground. He welcomes it. He'll scramble. He'll get on top, and he'll just try to hold you. Even his top game is just holding you. Yeah, I know he'll catch people like Matt Schnell who don't have a chin as he's circling, and he grows impatient. But all these other guys, he's just taking down and holding down for dear life. David Dvorak, he just circled and circled and circled, and David Dvorak just sucks. Tim Elliott, he just out grappled him on the ground. Manel Cap out grappled him on the ground and did a whole bunch of circling there too. He has all these guys that get impatient and chase him. I don't know if Asu's going to do that. Asu's more of a grappler, and he throws a whole bunch of spinning shit. When he's on the feet, he loves a spinning side kick to the body. Like, he loves that spin kick to the body. He's going to throw it over and over. But striking's not his forte. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's 22. Like, he has a good record. He's 30 years old. He's in the prime of his career. His cardio is okay. I've seen him get a little tired before, but he checks out. I believe this is the one that's like best friends with Shavkat. It's like one of his best friends. He's been training forever. With all the spinning stuff, he's a little low volume. I do wish he threw more. But it's very weird because Nicolau always gets knocked out in round one. Like all four of his losses are round one KOs. Um, but you look at Sue Almabayev, and he has this weird factuation with round two. He has rear naked choke round two. It's decision or round two finish. Like he has a decision in his last fight, decision in the fight before that, round two choke before that, round two choke before that, a decision, round three knockout. Good for him. Round two choke before that, round one choke. Okay, decision, round two choke, round two choke, round two KO, decision, round two choke. Like, why does this dude choke everyone out in the second round? I don't know if he is like he doesn't look like a slow starter to me. Maybe he just picks up the pace after round two. He waits, he gets his reads, and then he tries to take you out. I don't know what it is with him in round two, but it's decision or round two for him. It's just usually their submissions, and Mateus Nicolau is a BJJ black belt who's never been submitted, but he does have four knockout losses. All four of his losses are by knockout. Almabayev does have two round two knockouts. Maybe we switch it up from the submission and just go round two knockout. He's due. He just got two decisions, and it usually means that there's a round two finish around the corner. So I'll take a look at those props. I'll go ahead and I'll bet, or I'll pick a Sue. I'll ultimately bet a Sue at minus 190. I do think that the striking is close, but a Sue's is flashier, which the judges will like. Asu is definitely the better wrestler, and Jiu-Jitsu is a wash. But if Asu's the one on top, it's a better look. And he always has the threat of just getting Nicolau out of there because if you touch him, he goes out. So the pick is going to be Asu. The bet's going to be at Asu at minus 190. That's playable. And if you contingent on what the odds are, just take a little peek at that round two KO. Let's see what that hits for. Next fight of the night is our main card opener. We have the damage, Darren Elkins at plus 105, going up against Daniel Pineda at minus 125. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 130. Under 2.5 minus 170. Let's start with the damage. Damage isn't very good. The damage is old as shit. He's 30, he's 40 years old. He has a 2-inch reach advantage. That might be the only advantage he has in this matchup. He has good wrestling. He has okay jiu-jitsu. He's very good at scrambling. I would say he's really good at wrestling. Even if he doesn't get the takedown, he's very good at just forcing scrambles and getting on top. His striking's not very good. 56% takedown defense. Again, sometimes he lets you take him down so he can cause scrambles. Cardio is probably the best part of his game. Problem with him is look at the picture. He bleeds a ton. Optically always looks like he's getting beat up. His eyes puff up. He's always busted open. Like just on a judging standpoint, and you're judging on damage, the way he bleeds and bruises, it's not the greatest look. Um, his striking defense is he can strike with you a little bit, but defensively he's not sound at all. He doesn't check leg kicks. He allows you to punch him in the face. Like he's generally pretty durable, but he's 40 years old, so that durability is starting to leave him a little bit. We saw Cub Swanson knock him out 2 fights ago. Or sorry, 4 fights ago. But the guys he's beating, like TJ Brown has zero power, Tristan Connolly has zero power, Grigori has zero power. Like he's beating all of these guys that can't hurt you, and then he's losing to everyone else since like 2018. So yeah, man, I don't know. It's he's just old. He's not the best fighter in the world. He's not the worst, but he's probably going to be used as a stepping stone for a lot of guys. Not Daniel Pineda. Daniel Pineda is just as old. He's 39 years old. So why they made this matchup? Probably because Daniel Pineda mentioned the R word. He's talking about retirement. I know he has his own gym now, and he essentially said, if I lose, um, I might retire if I can't beat someone like Darren Elkins. So a little bit of a slander at Darren Elkins, but honestly, he's right. If you can't beat Darren Elkins, you're going to get hurt. You need to get out of here. I will say in the last few matchups. I mean, Darren Elkins is fighting Tristan Connolly and TJ Brown. Meanwhile, Pineda's fighting Nathaniel Wood and Alice Caceres. Like those are a lot tougher fights. Andre Fili, he did pop against Andre Fili with some roids, so hopefully he's on the good stuff here. Who knows? But he has good striking himself. I'd say it's just a touch better than Elkins. He has good wrestling himself. I'd say maybe Elkins is a touch better wrestler. He has good jiu-jitsu himself, much better than Elkins on the ground. Very low volume, very hittable himself. Very bad cardio. His cardio has looked better his last two fights, which is very strange, but a lot better cardio as of late, but not anywhere near the level of Darren Elkins. 48% takedown defense is not a good number. Again, Elkins is at 56, so Pineda can take down Elkins. Elkins definitely take down Pineda. Some of that is by design. He likes being on his back. He is a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. He loves his sweeps. He loves his chokes, and this dude loves a finish. 28 and 16. Out of his 28 wins, do you know how many are decisions? Zero. The dude's never won a decision in his career. The dude has almost 50 fights and has never won a decision. He's gone to decision a few times, never won one. He's always lost. All 28 of his wins, finishes. The dude's an absolute killer. The definition of kill. How do you have 28 wins and all of them by finish? Like that's Shavkat shit. That's why the over 2.5 in a featherweight fight is plus 130. Because they have Daniel Pineda as the favorite, and he ain't winning a decision. He's gonna win by knockout, so or submission. Is Darren Elkins a guy that he can finish? Yeah, Darren Elkins is fucking 40 years old. So I understand why Daniel Pineda's the favorite. Do I want to trust the guy with bad cardio at minus 125 going against someone who their best quality is their cardio? No, I really don't want to touch this fight. I just want to enjoy it as a fan. Gun to my head, I'll pick Daniel Pineda. I'll bet Daniel Pineda. I might get crazy. Maybe I'll look at what Daniel Pineda by decision is just for shits and giggles. But otherwise, minus 125 is a good enough line not to fuck around with that. So the pick is Pineda. The bet is Pineda. I don't want to bet it, but if you need something to juice something up, I guess I would probably just pass though. This one also scares me. We have Brady Highstand at minus 155 going up against Jake Hadley at plus 130. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 210. Under 2.5 at plus 165. I love to fade both of these guys. I don't like either one, to be quite frank with you. So let's just start with Brady Highstand. I think he's a little overrated. He's a favorite, which scares me because he's 25 years old and he fights like it. He's very green. He developed a nice little head kick, very snappy left head kick. That's all he has on the feet. Like this dude cannot strike to save his life. He is a Michael Chiesa protege. Michael Chiesa has been in the UFC for like 20 years. Still doesn't know how to strike. So it's no shock that Brady doesn't either. They just don't believe in striking. They believe in wrestling and grappling. Jesus, Brady is a good wrestler and a very good grappler. He's very good at jiu-jitsu. He's very good at getting you down to the ground. But just like his mentor, Michael Chiesa, he has very bad cardio and is very chinny, very low volume, and very hittable. This dude is a grappler through and through. It's better to get you out of there because if he doesn't, dude gets tired. And this is at 25. So I'm concerned when he gets older how his cardio is going to look. But as of right now, he does generally get drained. I did like seeing the finish in round 3 last time, but it's a lot harder to gas out completely when you get a takedown and you're on top, just kind of catching your breath the whole time. So this seems to be if you push him, he does get tired. Then the Dana Bacterel fight was very, very close. Dana was actually winning, and then Brady went out there and got the finish in round 3. That was impressive. So his cardio is improving. I'm not recanting that he has bad cardio. It's not good. He definitely slows down. He used to flat gas out. Even his career losses, Ricky Tercios, he lost a split because he gassed out. Chad Ellinger on the regional scene, he lost because he gassed out in round 3. I saw him even on the Ultimate Fighter gas out. Those are 2-round fights. So yeah, the dude does have a cardio issue, but he's working on it. He's trying. He just not trying to learn how to strike. That's concerning in 2024. On the other side, we have Jake Hadley. Here's my gripe with Jake Hadley, besides being kind of a dick. I don't really like him as a person. And as a fighting standpoint, he's weird. He has good striking. He has good jujitsu. Dude can't wrestle to save his life, so he can't really use his jujitsu unless he's on his back because he can't wrestle. He cannot take you down. I know Britain's not known for their wrestling, and God, he shows it. He's also a 25 pounder. He always struggled to make weight, missed weight all the fucking time, and was cheating, being a weight bully. And now he had to go up to 135. He went up to 135, fought another fuckboy and Colin Loughran, another one I cannot stand. I was hoping for a double knockout, didn't happen. But went up there and put on a career best against Colin at 135. So now the dude thinks he's the shit at 135. I should have been there the whole time. It was the weight cut that was hurting me. I don't think so, man. You can't wrestle. That's your issue. And when you're on the ground, you can throw stuff up there, but you're not catching anyone in anything. If someone else is proficient on the ground, he has issues. So he's a small guy, being a former 125 pounder. He filled out at 135. I will say he probably should have been at 135. But Brady's a massive 135. Brady will be bigger. He is the much better wrestler, and I think the jiu-jitsu is a wash. They're both good on the ground, but Brady will be the one on top. So at the end of the day, Jake Hadley could piece him up on the feet when they're up there, but he doesn't have a lot of power. So that doesn't scare me with Brady being chinny. So if he doesn't hit too hard and he can't stuff a takedown, this is kind of tailor made for Brady. I hate trusting a one dimensional guy at minus 155, but styles make fights. So the pick is going to be Brady. The bet's going to be Brady. Very, very limited action on that fight. Next fight of the night, we have Sue Derji at plus 185 going up against Charles Johnson at minus 225. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 200. Under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Sue Derji. Sue Derji is someone that people sleep on. I like Sue Derji. I think he's pretty good. He's 28 years old. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He is a striker through and through. He's very good striking. His wins in the UFC, very questionable. His UFC wins consist of Zaruk Adashev, who had 0 wins in the UFC, and Malcolm Gordon, who is now retired and was known for having the worst chin in the UFC. And he beat Andre Sukmatal. I can't remember his name. Andre Sug. It's so long ago, 2019. He beat Andre, who was not very good, and I don't know if he had any wins in the UFC. So yeah, he has 3 UFC wins, but they're not good. He also has losses. He lost to Louis Smoka because Louis Smoka took him down and subbed him. Not a good look because Louis Smoka is a terrible wrestler. He got choked out by Matt Schnell. Not the greatest look because he's not a good wrestler. Tim Elliott is a good wrestler. Everyone saw it coming, took him down, and choked him out. And if you notice something weird, I talked about Nicolau and having 4 career losses and all by knockout. Sumaderji has 6 career losses, and they are all by submission. Arm triangle, triangle. It just says choke. It just choke. Arm bar, and arm bar. So you can grab his neck, you can grab his limb, you can do whatever you want with Sumaderji. If he hits the ground, he is apparently a fish out of water. Um, he fights pretty well moving backwards, which is interesting. He throws a ton of volume. He has a bad ground game, and it's not too hard to get him down. He has a 66% takedown defense. And I've seen where he absolutely unloaded and got tired after like dominating around. So I have seen him tire out before. Yeah, man. I like Sumaderji. I think he's very underrated. I was looking for every reason to bet Sumaderji in this matchup. I just don't think I can. Charles Energy Johnson's 33 years old. He has good volume. Best part about his game is definitely his cardio. I mean, his nickname is Energy. He has sneaky good jujitsu, a pretty good choke series himself. He has a lot of anacondas and darces and things of that magnitude. I know he knocked out Joshua Van, but he generally doesn't hit too hard. He's usually another decisionator. His wrestling, it's going to show 66%, just like Sue. But he got taken down by Makayev a million times, and that will skew that number. He fought Cody Durden, who's a very good wrestler, that will skew that number. Rafael Estevan is an okay wrestler. Just some of those numbers are going to get skewed. Zalgas is a pretty decent wrestler. Um, but then we saw him utilize his own wrestling against Jake Hadley. He will mix in a takedown here or there. He'll sprinkle them in. He's awfully durable. He's never been finished, and he has 6 career losses. And that's not true. I think Raw Dog finished him on the regional scene. No, Raw Dog decision him. Yeah, he's never been finished. Um, yeah, he's just an overall kind of a generalist. But he's another one of these like Cantona. He's a very good generalist. You think he's ranked now. He's a good fighter everywhere. He loves to pressure forward. He just fights to his level of competition. If he's fighting Joshua Van, who's up and comer and ranked, he's gonna look great. If he's fighting Ozat Maxim, who's like an undefeated scary fighter coming in, he's going to look great. If he's fighting washing away Ode Osborne, he's going to lose a split decision. That's just the way it is. He just fights the level of his competition. Sue's not the greatest competition, but I think in a just striking affair, I think it's pretty 50-50. He'll give a slight advantage to Sue, but if Charles wants to mix in a takedown, he can. Again, I really came into this thinking I was going to bet Sue, really wanting to bet Sue because people are sleeping on Sue. But if this thing hits the ground, Charles Johnson's probably subbing him. And I think Charles isn't a dumb fighter. He's very cocky, but he's not stupid. So I'll take a little peek at Charles Johnson by sub, maybe get a little sneaky play because he hasn't had any submissions in the octagon yet. He has a lot on the regional scene, but not in the octagon. So take a peek at Charles by sub, see what it is. Otherwise, the pick is going to be Charles Johnson. Unfortunately, the bet is going to be Charles Johnson. Minus 225. I understand that. Then that takes us to our co-main event of the evening, and a super fun one here. We have Rob Font at plus 360 going against Kyler Phillips at minus 470. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 185. This is something the UFC is trying to do in the passing of the guard. We have Rob Font, who's 37 years old, so he is not a prospect any longer. He has really good striking. He has okay jujitsu. He's fought the who's who in the division. He's fought a great level of competition, fighting former champions like Figueroa and Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Chito Vera, Jose Aldo, Cody Garbrandt. Like he's fought the who's who at 135. He throws a ton of volume. He has really good cardio. He does everything well. Problems he has is first and foremost his takedown defense. That's how you beat this guy. 46% takedown defense. I mean, freaking Corey Sandhagen fought him with a torn labrum or something like that. He like tore his arm in the first round and still proceeded to take him down every round. So you have a one-armed striker taking Rob Font down repeatedly for 25 minutes. That's not a good look. Very, very, very bad wrestler. And his chin scares the living shit out of me. It's not showing that he's getting knocked out at all. Um, but in hindsight, the older he gets, he's 37 years old. In fact, he's never been knocked out. And he used to be cast iron, but now when you hit him, you see cracks a little bit. I'm looking at his last few fights. Jose Aldo dropped him multiple times. Marlon Vera dropped him multiple times. Corey Sandhagen dropped him. Davidson Figueroa dropped him. Again, I always call it an Usman chin because there was that like 5 year period where Usman got dropped every single one of his fights, but didn't get knocked out and ultimately won. That's what Rob Font's doing. He's getting cracked every single fight, but he's not going out. But once that door opens, you're liable to get knocked out a ton. And I'm sorry, but I think Rob Font's time is coming. He's 37. It's only going to get worse with age. Is it going to happen this weekend against Kyler? It could. I'm not sure. Kyler is the future. He's 29 years old. He's training at an MMA lab. So the Marcus McGee's, the Sugar Sean O'Malley's, the Mario Batista, all of these guys fight at 135, and all of them train together. Like all of these guys just go at it. You're going against Sean O'Malley and Mario Batista every single day of the same weight class. What is that, number 5 and number 1 going at it, and you're going with them every single time. Yeah, good camp to be at, especially at that weight class. Yeah, Clayton Carpenter's those type of guys we saw last week. He has very good striking. They're all kind of the same at the lab. They all fight the same way. Like they're all very good strikers with very good jujitsu. and the wrestling is okay. It's not great wrestling over at that camp, but Kyler might be the best of the bunch in regards to his wrestling. He took down Ronnie Parcellos, which is really hard to do. He took down Song Yadong like 3 times. The dude has some sneaky good wins. Ronnie is a good win. Pedro Munoz is a ranked fighter. Very good win. Um, Song Yadong is a top 10 guy. Very good win. Like he has some good wins. And his one career loss in the UFC is against Julian Paiva, and that was a very, very questionable loss. Um, he 10-8'd Paiva, basically killed Paiva. And then his other career loss was a split decision to Victor Henry. And Victor Henry is good and ranked in the UFC. I don't know if he's ranked, but he should be. Victor Henry's very good. He's just old. And it was a split decision. But again, back to the Paiva fight. That was also it was a majority decision. He should have. It should be a draw. It really should have been a draw. He almost killed Paiva all of round one. Went so hard for the finish that he completely gassed himself out and was just a sitting punching bag round two and three. But if you dominate round one and should be a 10-8, then you lose the next 2 rounds. It's a draw. It's not a loss, but two of the judges only gave him a 10-9, and the other one gave him a 10-8. So at the end of the day, he could be undefeated or he could be 13-1 at the worst is what he should be because the other loss again was a split decision. So he has 2 career losses, and in both losses, one of the judges didn't agree. So Kyler's that good. He's very underrated. He's not a household name. All his training partners are, and he's finally getting credit being a co-main event as being on their level because he is. He is that good. And again, he's the better wrestler out of all those guys that I mentioned. He has very high volume. He'll use his wrestling against strikers. He'll strike against wrestlers. Very good fight IQ. Dude just starts very, very fast. His biggest problem is his cardio. His cardio is his enemy. Even in his wins, he does slow down. He doesn't gas out all the time like he did against Paiva, but he will slow down in his fights. He might be honestly better than Mario Batista. He might be better than Sean O'Malley. He just doesn't have the gas tank that they do. But he's working on it and he's getting good enough. And I think it's good enough for Rob Font. And honestly, with Rob Font being 37 and getting chinny, may not go 15 minutes. He might just get the finish. That would not be surprising. And if he doesn't, it's going to be a war. But Kyler has wrestling in his back pocket if he needs to. He has good fight IQ. He knows Corey had one arm and took him down. He knows he can take down Rob Font. Everyone takes down Rob Font. So that might just be his game plan. It's probably going to be Kyler by decision, but in the off chance he's the one that puts Rob out, because I think Kyler can win striking. I think he can win grappling. I think he can do both. He is also a jiu-jitsu black belt. Like Kyler is the complete package, just without cardio. Um, so at the end of the day, I'm rambling. It's Kyler. Clearly, he's minus 475, 470. I was just trying to find the method because I don't want to bet him at minus 470. I guess it would be decision. I think he's going to wrestle in this matchup because that's what you do to Rob Font. So I'll pick Kyler. I'll bet, I guess, Kyler by decision, but you probably have to stay away because it's overpriced. And then that takes us to the main event. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. This is the one I alluded to earlier. This one hurts me. I don't want to talk about it. We have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez going against Michel Pereira. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 105. Under 2.5 at minus 140. And the 2.5 over 2.5 being plus money is interesting to me. I think that's more on the Michel Pereira side, but let's start with with my boy Fluffy. No one liked Fluffy until I did. I think a lot of these guys that are my favorite fighters, like Brandon Royval, he's fun to watch and he's winning me money. Fluffy Hernandez, to me, growing up as a wrestler, is fun to watch, and he won my first ever, like the biggest bet I ever made was the biggest bet I ever won was him submitting to Black Belt Hunter. That was all the way back in 2021. That was my first like glory play that I ever hit. And I said, Vera looks like he's getting cast out in these matchups. Fluffy is the best cardio. And I literally said he's going to get too tired and Fluffy's going to sub him. And Fluffy did exactly that in round two. It was sick. It was awesome. He choked him out with one arm and celebrated while doing it. Even Fluffy's last fight, I locked him against Roman Kopylov, and Fluffy sunk in the rear naked choke and was sticking his tongue out and shaking his head, talking to the crowd as he was choking out a scary Russian. Fluffy's the man. He's cool, and he's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. Only a brown belt, but the dude is smooth. His bread and butter is his wrestling. Very, very good wrestler. And part of that is because he has the best cardio at middleweight. He is literal middleweight Marab. The dude doesn't breathe heavy at all. And he's finally getting a 25-minute fight. He is built for 25 minutes. Dude has top five cardio in all of UFC. That's including flyweights. That's including women's MMA. This dude's cardio is unfathomable for no reason. He's definitely a smoker. So I have no idea how his cardio is so good. It's just naturally gifted. He marches forward, throws a ton of volume. His striking is not bad. He's a pretty decent striker. So he's an okay striker. He has really good jiu-jitsu. He has really good wrestling. He's an unlimited gas tank. How do you beat Fluffy? You knock him out. Dude's low key chinny, and he has some problems with his body, honestly. Kevin Holland knocked him out with knees to the body and then ground and pound. Marcus Perez had a body kick and then club and subbed him with a choke. So he has two losses, and both of them were because he got dropped. His durability is the problem. He's a great fighter. He will gas you out. He can knock you out. He can submit you. He can decision you. But if you clip him hard enough in the body, he just his name is Fluffy. He doesn't have abs there. He will go down. On the other side, we have Michel Pereira, which is very weird because he's the opposite. He has zero cardio. He attributed that to him cutting too much weight down to 170, which might be true. Dude was the biggest 170 pounder I've ever seen. He's bigger than people at 185. So how he was at 170, I don't know. I mean, he'll have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He's 31 years old, so he's also in his prime. He has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu. His wrestling is sneaky good too. He will mix in takedowns. And has 94% takedown defense himself. So he's very difficult to get down to the ground. He has pretty decent volume. His biggest issue, as I alluded to, was his cardio. He gasses out in all of his fights. That's how he lost to Tristan Connolly, was just straight gassing out. That's why he went to split decisions against people like Chaos Williams, and went to decision against Nico Price because he just gassed out in round three. But the problem I have is that the dude hits like an absolute truck, especially at middleweight. At middleweight, he had a club and sub against Ihor, who just fought his ass off against Cesar Almeida. I thought Almeida was going to dog walk him. He is an accredited kickboxer, and he struggled. Pereira did not. Club and subbed him in under a minute. He fought Michael Oleksiejczuk, who went out there and dropped Kevin Holland and knocked out Chidi Njokuani. Like, Michael Oleksiejczuk is no joke. He went out there and clubbed and subbed him in a minute and 1 second. And then Andre Petrowski, world class wrestler, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, went out there and knocked him out in 1 minute, 6 seconds. Yeah, middleweight Michel Pereira has finished all three of his fights in 1 minute. Dude has power for days. Dude hits very hard, and a lot of them are kicks to the body. I'm sure Michel Pereira sees Fluffy's no abs and that he doesn't like getting hit there. And I'm sure Fluffy sees Michel Pereira losing to lightweights, who are Tristan Connolly fought at featherweight at one point. And he lost to Tristan Connolly because he flat gassed out. So Fluffy sees the cardio issues and he's going to push a pace. Michel sees the durability issues and he's going to be throwing for broke. And I don't know which one's going to work. Is the knockout artist going to finish the chinny fighter, or is the cardio freak going to absolutely dismantle the guy with cardio issues? I don't know. Neither does Vegas. That's why it's set at 2.5. Michel could gas out in those 2.5 minutes. He could also get a knockout in those 2.5 minutes. We have no fucking clue. Fight not to go the distance is probably the safest route. But Michelle's hard to finish, so I don't fucking know. I don't like that this fight's going on. If anything, I'm gonna split it here. I'm gonna pick Michelle, or sorry, I'm gonna pick Fluffy. Trust the cardio, but I think Michelle's gonna clip him. That's the thing. Michelle's striking is so unorthodox. He's the one that does backflips off of cages and does spinning wheel kicks and will just like slap you and then do capoeira stuff. Like it's so unpredictable. He's probably going to catch Fluffy with something he won't even see coming, and it's probably going to put him out. So you know what? The best route is to just bet Fluffy, put him in every single one of your parlays since he's only minus 130. That's what you do. Just put him in every single parlay and you hedge, and then you just enjoy the fight and enjoy winning money. I'm going to pick Fluffy. I'm going to bet Fluffy, and I'm going to hedge the hell out of that bet with Michelle Pereira if all the other legs hit. And that's UFC Vegas 99. Again, not the biggest name value, but a ton of fun fights. It starts at 4, so you don't have to be up all night. It's going to be a great weekend. It was a great weekend last weekend. Let's make it another great weekend this weekend. As we're making money, we're having fun, baby. Let's get it.